All right, let's change gears here. We're gonna get into kind of life after boarding and what unfolded. I want you to kind of walk us through that.
I think that, something that kind of goes hand in hand with being a snowboarder is that, partying was always a thing, So at the time it was really just like I was just smoking a lot of weed and, getting drunk and stuff like that. And sometimes I get tight at the wrong time or whatever or whatnot. But I was like living in LA and I was making money and the phone like wasn't ringing as much to do things like events and photo shoots and stuff, but I was still collecting. And so I was like kind of bored, but I was like, I had the $85,000 BMW. I was living in a house in the valley with my brother. Like I had money coming in still. I was like, all right, like my contracts are going to be up for renewal in the spring. Like I was trying to figure out at that time, like that was the first year that I like didn't have an invite to X Games. I don't know. Like, I guess I wasn't like living in a reality that like maybe it was kind of coming to an end and like, or it was heading in that direction. And I was so scared. Like, I didn't know who to talk to about it. I didn't know anyone else that had really gone through that transition afterwards. And the tough thing was for me is that like I was healthy in terms of like my body felt good. Like I wasn't treating my body good, but
you're
like
only 26.
Yeah. So like I felt like I got gas left in the tank. I could go film, I could go do things. So I pretty much started like drinking and getting fucked up a lot out of boredom. I just like the way I feel when I put drugs in my system.
What kind of drugs are we talking?
Just like the standard party stuff, like Molly, cocaine, psychedelics. I never got into opiates and like, intravenous drug using. I was like a culture vulture. So it's like I did what other people I hung out with did. I didn't really know any kids that shot dope, or did heroin. So I didn't feel compelled to want to try it. I'm sure if I would have been around that crowd and stuff, like I don't see why I wouldn't, because I'm a drug addict. What really like drove it for me was, like I got a call from Dave Driscoll in, probably March of 2013. And he was like, basically telling me that Nike was pulling out and, they weren't going to renew my contract. And this is actually before I knew that Nike was coming out of the game completely. So I felt like just devastated that I was one of these guys that was getting cut. From that point on, it had only been like leveling up. It had only been like contract negotiations for more money and more things and more opportunities. And now I'm here. If I was looked at as just a pipe rider, and obviously I wasn't doing well in pipe contests, and where is my value at all? So that's something I struggled with. And then shortly thereafter, a couple months following, I got the call from K2,
Dominoes.
Which was like at that point in the summer. And, like I was just like, by that point I was pretty off to the races, dude. Like I was getting fucked up every day. I was going out, just finding like after that call from Nike happened, I booked a ticket to Cancun and left the next day. Went on like a 6-day bender in Cancun just because I just like couldn't deal. Like I couldn't deal with the loss of it, And it was just, I think that I always sort of had this this MO that snowboarding isn't who I am. It's just a part of who I am. And I have all these other interests and things that I'm into and yada, yada. But when that stuff started to happen in Domino, I think I realized like how much of my identity really was wrapped up in me as a snowboarder. And that I really didn't know, like, if I don't have snowboarding and then all that's left is the party, and like, what is that? Like I was struggling with managing the money because at this point I had kind of taken over my finances from like my mom helping me out. And like, I was like, yeah, I got it, whatever. So do you have any questions? Like, do you need any help on like how to make these tax payments and how to do this stuff? And I was like, no, like I'll figure it out. Did not figure it out. Did not send in the payments. Just thinking it would go away. Pulling money out of my retirement early. I was like, dude, I don't like have any other money coming in. Like I need 50 grand. Like, sure, withhold the taxes, whatever, because I pulled that money out prematurely and the taxes were withheld. I thought that I didn't have to file.
Wow.
Fucking.
And you just
I'm like, this is my like cocaine brain. Just like, I don't like, you know what I mean? Just
you're
like,
watching the coffers
young
just
idiot,
deplete.
dude. Yeah. And I'm just like, what's going on? So for about the next 2 years, it was just Mason figuring it out. Whenever I'd run into someone from like, whether it was like one of the homies or someone, or I go to Mammoth, they're like, so dude, like, what have you been up to? Like, what's been going on? Like, are you still, like, I saw that you're not on like K2 anymore and like no more Nike and stuff. Like, I was like, oh, I'm like figuring it out. I was not clear headed by any means. So there was no real sound plan. But basically that like year of snowboarding, my like last, I would say full year trying to like ride, was mostly just me and Mammoth getting fucking bombed and like not producing. and just kind of upholding the image that everything was going well. At a certain point, I talked to my agent, Steve, and he was like, dude, I love you. And like, you know, like you've done great. Like maybe it's time to start thinking about like the next thing. And I was like, that was like someone speaking a foreign language to me. I was like, what? Like all I've ever done is snowboard. What do you mean the next thing? Like I started when I was 6. I'm 26. The last 20 years have been this, and that's it. Like this is all I ever have done, you know? I maybe thought that like I would just because of I was telling Chris this earlier, like maybe because of my tenure as a snowboarder, I've been doing this for 12 years professionally. Someone will give me a job, you know?
Someone's going to call.
Yeah. It's like, reminds me of like Dale in the movie Step Brothers when he's like, we're a family of doctors.
It's a house of learned
doctors.
He's like, Dale, I'm a doctor. Like, you know, that type of shit, you know? But
did you spend it all?
Eventually, yeah, I did. You know, that didn't pan out in my mind how I wanted it to. Everything was like, if it wasn't good enough for me, it wasn't good at all, you know? So I was really battling with this inner ego about what I feel like I deserve and blah, 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 and all this shit. And I had a big chip on my shoulder about it. And I didn't realize any of that shit, man, until I got sober. You know what I mean? I just thought that, you know, I just victimized myself and wanted people to feel bad for me and all this shit and all this stuff. And yeah, eventually the money ran out, and you know, like fucking moved to San Diego, and I was at a certain point I was driving Uber, fucked up. I would like go to the gas station, pound a couple of Mike's Hard Lemonades, and like drive people around in Uber.
Oh damn.
Bag of blow on the little visor, like just Alicia Key bumps, like while I'm dropping people off. Like not smart.
I've never heard
not
that.
Smart
Alicia
at all.
Key bumps. I love it.
Not smart. Didn't get caught. I don't know how I didn't. Don't recommend it. I was like kind of dabbling, trying to go to some AA meetings and check that kind of thing out. But then I would like leave and I would like go get fucked up because I didn't like what I heard or whatever. And I think at the end of the day, man, I just hadn't experienced enough pain. I think that as an alcoholic, man, I got a high threshold for pain, you know? So, like, even though, like, all the signs were there that, like, Mason needed help and people were worried about me, family, friends, whatever, maybe I didn't, like, know it. You know, maybe people weren't saying, like, hey, man, like, I'm worried about you. You maybe need to, like, get help. Like, there was never that type of conversation yet, anyway. Yeah, from the first time I started to kind of, like, realize that I had a problem, it wasn't really me that was, you know, that was the decider. That I was in a relationship at the time, and the girl I was with, you know, she woke up, you know, one morning and she's like, Mason, you're a fucking alcoholic, and I'm not staying here to watch whatever this is, like, continue. So, like, I'm out. And she left, and yeah, I mean, that's exactly what I think any smart person would do in my situation. And so, you know, that went on, you know, until I got sober. It's about another 14 months from that, you know? So I was doing all that shit that I was mentioning, you know? I mean, at this point, I'm, like, definitely not snowboarding, you know? I'm just in San Diego. I was caddying at a golf course. I was working at a golf course. I was driving the Uber thing, but also, like, spending money on drugs, that little money that I was making. Had a talk with my folks, and my mom and stepdad lived in South Carolina, and they're like, hey, like, you know, we'd love to see you, like, come out here, you know? And I was like, yeah, no, that's it. Like, I just need a break from being here, and I just need to, like, hug my mom, or, like, I just need to, like, see family. That's gonna be the great fix here, you know? So, like, I flew out and, you know, got bombed in the airport and, like, show up. And I'm, like, you know, 230 pounds, dude. I look like ass, you know. I've just been, like, eating like shit, snorting shit, drinking a shit ton, like, just not, like, like, throwing up blood in the morning, like, shitting blood. Like, it was bad. And I, like, never went to the hospital. Like, I'm just like, oh, yeah, and I'll just chalk that up as, like, I'm just, like, I don't know. That's, you know, not normal, but I'm not going to, like, do anything about it. Like, it's weird how, like, just unwell I was. Like, I don't really know what my thought process really was. But I got to Charleston and, like, was at my parents' for a couple days. And, you know, my stepdad and my mom and sister sat me down, and they just, you know, they offered me help. And a lot of the stuff my stepdad said I didn't, at the time, I was like, damn, he's being kind of harsh. You know, he's like, let me tell you the truth about your life, Mason. And he was like, you've blown through millions of dollars. You're a fucking drug addict. You don't have a job. You can't even afford dog food for your dog. You're behind on your car payments. You don't have a place to live. So like, how is it really going? And I was just like, you know, I look across and I just see the look on my mom's face and see the look on my sister's face. And it was just devastating, you know? I think that was, you know, that conversation. And I'm, you know, even though it hurt, you know, I was so grateful my stepdad was able to like tell me the truth. And for the first time in a long time, I actually listened and was like, you know what, maybe he's not entirely full of shit here. And like, I actually like am fucked up. So yeah, so, I mean, it was hard at the time, but you know, they were willing to help me out. And I was not really open to going to treatment and wanting to get sober, but I was like willing enough to like go to the street. It was weird. Like I was like, well, I'm still gonna smoke weed after I leave this place. Like I'm still gonna do LSD, like you know, like for sure,
yeah,
like like
problem.
psychedelics, like are still on the table here. So I went to rehab, and you know, it wasn't like some 30-day spin dry rehab center. It was 6 months, long-term inpatient. Like put all my bills on hold. You know, my parents were like, look, we will pay for this one time. We're not doing this like bullshit where you like go in, come out, start getting fucked up again, go in and come out. You know, they won't have a problem with me saying this, but my mom has been sober 34 years. My stepdad's been sober 35 years. They have a lot of experience working with alcoholics, drug addicts, all this stuff. And I think they did the best thing they could do for me was let me run my fucking life into the ground.
They were watching.
My mom sent me a letter when I was 90 days sober, and she said, "As a mom, you want to fix it. You want to fix the problem, but as an alcoholic, I had to let you come to your truth."
And then hit you
And
with
it
that
was
tough
like,
love and
yeah.
tell you what's up.
And at the time, you know, I had been sober 80-something days or whatever, and I was like, "Yeah, that's real shit," you know. And she was like, and for me too, like they say that like alcohol, like being like alcoholism is a family disease, you know, like it doesn't just affect the one person. And for the longest time, like my drug addiction, my alcoholism only affected Mason and no one else. That was my thing. Like I was so subscribed to that. And in that letter, my mom's saying like, you know, the sleepless nights that me and your stepdad sat awake waiting for the phone call that you fucking killed somebody in a car, got DUI, did this, hurt somebody, whatever. Like, we're so glad that we don't have to do that today. It really opened my eyes into like, dude, this isn't just about me. Like, I've put my family through shit. I think that once I was out of options, I was actually able to like be like, all right, well, this is like the only option I have is to like go to this rehab and like get sober. So I should probably just like take this, see what happens, whatever. And I had like the greatest 6 months of my like adult life, dude. It was like sober summer camp.
in rehab.
Really weird to say, but I, you know, like I got there, some people explained what alcoholism is to me and what drug addiction is. And it's not just, you know, then everything that kind of comes with it. And, realize that like I'm not unique, man. Like I can't get out of here and smoke weed anymore. Like I can't do psychedelics. If I'm a true powerless drug addict and alcoholic, like this shit is gonna lead me right back to the shit that I used to do. And yeah, but dude, there's hope. There's hope, dude. Like up until I went to that rehab, I think in terms of like probably from that time that I like went on that powder trip after the Olympics until I got sober, I was never not on a substance for more than 4 days. You know, I did the 6 months. I hadn't remembered the last time that I followed through with something I said I was going to do. So like I was emotional leaving the treatment center, dude. Like, okay, I didn't bitch out. I didn't leave early. Like I did the 6 months and I put in the work on myself too. Even though I didn't know what I was going to do next. Like I you know what I mean? I had some clarity for sure on like what was going on, and I dropped 30 pounds. I looked normal again, as normal as can be, I guess. And, definitely was like, not blaming anyone else except for me. Like I definitely got to a place where I was like taking accountability for my actions and stuff. And that was just the beginning, dude.
Whenever we talk about sobriety, the person you're talking to starts self-judging themselves, right? So they're self-judging and they're like, I wonder if I have a problem. And they start like, and I think there's listeners that are listening to this podcast that are saying, I wonder if I have a problem. Now, what would you say are some of the things that might go into contributing factor to alcoholic or a user that maybe lacks awareness or just is curious about what is if they are or if they're not?
I think that great question, great wormhole. Let's go. I think that it's what kept me out for a long time. I've never got a DUI. I've never been arrested. You know what I mean? I'm not living under a fucking bridge. You know, that dude that's shooting dope, what a fucking loser, dude. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not him. Why would I need to get sober? Like, I'm not that. Like, I still have a car, still have a girlfriend and like friends that care about me, I think. You know, like I still have, so I mean, it was easy for me to like be like, well, I know that. I only drink this much, whatever. It's not, it's more like, what am I like when I drink? Doesn't matter if I drink one fucking day a week. You know what I mean? If I drink and I'm, you know, blackout, black eye, fucking like, bitch, like acting like an idiot, like that's maybe something to look at, dude. Like maybe, you know, like I'm not saying that makes you an alcoholic. Also, like if you get a DUI, that doesn't make you an alcoholic. You could go out and drink, you know, you could be coming home from a Christmas party, dude, and like drink twice a year and get a DUI. And shit doesn't make you an alcoholic. You know what I mean? I was in fucking rehab with a dude that had 16 DUIs, dude.
16?
Yeah,
They let him back
fire,
out there?
Dude. Fire.
That's
messed up.
That's an impressive
I
number.
think that deserves an air horn
Yeah,
for
that's
that,
good.
man.
I can't believe they let him back out there after 3 or 4. Jeez.
Running it. And I'm like, that's what's up, dude. You probably have a problem.
They want,
16.
do they want the money? They just keep letting them back
Well, no,
out
he
there
didn't have, I'm
somehow.
sure he didn't have a license.
Yeah, no, for sure. So I think that there's different things, but I think that more or less like, how do you feel? You know what I mean? Like, how do you feel like when you drink or when you're not drinking? It doesn't need to be that I drink I drank every day and I used every day for like a couple years.
Here's a good question to ask yourself. Is my life unmanageable? Like,
It's a great question.
That's a huge good self-awareness question about like, is the alcohol affecting my job? Is the alcohol or drugs affecting my personal relationships? Has somebody left me because I was using? Those
my usefulness to other people.
Yeah.
Usefulness to myself. You know what I'm saying? I was telling you this earlier. I was like, dude, I'm 5.5 years sober. And I was talking to a friend about this earlier this week who is, you know, struggling with early sobriety. You know, and we were chit-chatting. And I was like, look, man, like I'm 5.5 years sober and my life is like teetering on unmanageability and I'm sober. You know what I mean? So if I add alcohol or weed or ketamine or whatever back into the mix, dude, like I'm off, dude. Like the business is gone. The relationship's gone. Girlfriend gone. Family gone. Like it's a matter of time, dude. Like is it going to kill me if I drink tonight? Like probably not, but like the repercussions that come with that, dude, the ripple effect, like not fucking willing to even fuck with that, dude. Like sobriety's giving me too much.